Many factors can lead to mental health difficulties for women. It's important to be aware of them. This allows each woman to identify those that influence her own life. It can help her understand why, at certain times, she feels discouraged or overwhelmed, and prevent her from judging or devaluing herself. Indeed, there are many factors beyond our control, such as sexism and the discrimination we may face as women. We can denounce these mechanisms and participate in collective actions aimed at ending them, but we don't have the power on our own to change how society functions. However, we can navigate life's challenges with less suffering if we understand that we are not responsible for what happens to us. We can organize ourselves as best we can to cope. There are other factors we can act upon. These situations aren't easy to identify because they often develop without us realizing it. For example, we might have agreed to move to a different city to be with our partner, but the job we had to take turns out to be boring and restrictive. Perhaps we could work together to find a different way of organizing things. Once we realize that a particular situation is having a negative impact on our mental health, we can then consider how we could change things. By modifying the situation, it can become protective of our mental health and allow us to feel better. In the lists that follow, each person can look for the factors that apply to them and check them off. Then, click on the provided link to a public institution, a media outlet, or an association, or do their own research to learn more and, when possible, find satisfactory solutions.
Schedule time for yourself each week. When you take time for yourself, that is, a moment when you're not taking care of anyone else, you're able to relax and therefore see your stress levels decrease. Many women instinctively prioritize others, their partner, family, friends, colleagues, etc. That's why it's helpful to schedule time slots in your weekly calendar to go for a walk, listen to music, or exercise, and to stick to them. A few moments of rest during the day have a direct effect on anxiety and improve mood. It also allows you to regain energy, to recharge your batteries, and return to your tasks with more enthusiasm. Taking breaks doesn't necessarily mean being alone. If you enjoy company, you can meet up with a friend in a public garden or at a cafe terrace. No longer having one's mind occupied by constraints also allows one to give the necessary space to one's emotions, whether it be sadness or joy. Taking care of yourself before your period. Periods are still too often something women feel compelled to hide. In one of her shows, comedian Caroline Vigneault explains periods to men, demonstrating through absurdity that this shame is unfounded. Furthermore, experiencing pain before or during menstruation is now considered abnormal, a problem long neglected, along with endometriosis, an inflammatory disease that develops in the uterus and is often characterized by pain. If you experience this, it's important to talk to your doctor, who will be able to prescribe medication tailored to the severity of the pain. You can choose to track your menstrual cycle and note your mood swings day by day, particularly using apps. This way, you can anticipate periods when you'll feel more tired or vulnerable and plan for a lighter schedule or teleworking when possible. This also helps avoid worrying about a dip in mood when you've identified the cause and know it's temporary. If periods cause such severe pain that you have to stop all activity, if you experience extreme fatigue, or if you have high levels of anxiety, it may be helpful to consider conditions such as polycystic ovary syndrome, PCOS, endometriosis, or premenstrual dysphoric disorder, PMDD, and to do so, consult your doctor. Anticipating the difficulties of pregnancy or menopause by staying informed. Generally speaking, girls and women are poorly prepared or not prepared at all for major life events such as their first period, pregnancy, the postpartum period, the period following the birth of a baby, perimenopause, the transition period preceding menopause, or menopause, the end of menstruation. Many reliable sources of information on these topics are available today. Consulting them allows you to prepare for the changes and anticipate difficulties. Free public services such as childbirth preparation classes, prenatal and postnatal consultations can also help. The website 1000 First Days, created by Public Health France, covers the period from pregnancy until the child is 2 years old, and in particular, the emotions experienced during pregnancy. Developing a kind perspective on your body. A woman's body is subjected to judgment and criticism very early in life, often from childhood. It's quite a challenge, whether you're a teenager or an adult, to develop a kind perspective on your own body and, by extension, on the bodies of others. It's about considering your body as an ally that you have the right to treat with gentleness. The games and exercises in the Body Positive Workbook from CRIPS, Regional Center for Information and Prevention of AIDS and for Youth Health, Île-de-France, offer a way to establish new reference points, replacing the dictates of beauty standards. Engaging in physical activity. Women are still less likely than men to engage in regular physical activity, although the gap is narrowing among the younger generation. The Opinion Way survey conducted in 2024 confirms this. Even without being an athlete, you can participate in numerous activities that engage your body, which promotes better mental health. This could involve signing up for a dance class, Zumba, ballroom dancing, playing ping pong in the local park, gardening, or even walking instead of driving. To find activity ideas and maintain motivation over time, there are free online tools available. SciComm has selected several that meet strict quality criteria, which you can discover on our page Self-Help Tools for Everyone under the section Get Active Every Day by clicking the button below. Limiting your exposure to toxic content on social media. Social media can offer comfort. However, it also amplifies negative dynamics such as self-loathing or body shaming, feelings of isolation, criticism, and groupthink. Globally, women are 27 times more likely to experience online harassment or hate speech than men, according to the United Nations. Taking action to reduce your mental load. If you're in a relationship, you can practice delegating certain tasks to your partner. Learn to say no more often. In other words, take action to reduce your mental load. It's about limiting that all too common feeling of being overwhelmed, of not being able to cope. The graphic novel You Should Have Asked, dedicated to the unequal distribution of tasks between men and women, was created by cartoonist and feminist activist Emma. Through the scenes of daily life she depicts, we become aware of the burden that spontaneously falls on women. This book can motivate you to try a different approach. You can make an inventory of the visible or invisible tasks that you assign yourself without even thinking about it, or that are assigned to you because you're a woman. These include, for example, planning laundry, children's medical appointments, and grocery shopping. Making a list helps identify what can be shared, and then begin negotiations to achieve a more equitable division of labor within the couple. To ensure the new arrangement lasts, it's helpful to create a shared schedule with your partner or family and display it publicly. When a new task arises, or when a home improvement project starts, discussing it together and deciding who will do what allows each person to feel responsible for a portion of the responsibilities. The holiday season can be an opportunity for women to break with routine, because most often they are the ones who take on the task of sending out invitations, choosing gifts for everyone, including their in-laws, doing the grocery shopping, preparing the meal, and decorating the house. Strengthening financial independence. Preserving mental health also involves the ability to meet one's own needs and contribute to those of one's family if one has one. This allows for greater freedom in one's choices and, if one is in a relationship, greater independence from one's partner. Strengthening financial independence is an important issue for working women as well as for unemployed women. Among other things, it reduces the risk of a partner or family establishing a controlling relationship that results in psychological abuse. The survey conducted by IFOP in 2025 shows that financial independence comes first when women are asked, "What do you think contributes most to a woman's personal balance today?" Getting involved in finances within one's relationship, for example, is a good starting point if it's not something one is used to doing.
One can, in particular, become familiar with accounts and investments such as savings accounts or life insurance, even if it seems daunting at first, in order to have a say in important decisions for the future. Indeed, women don't always make the best choices for themselves. In research for her book The Couple and Money, journalist T.T.U. Lecoq showed that married life impoverishes women. Men tend to use their income to finance the purchase of a car, which will then be theirs in the event of a divorce. Meanwhile, women pay for everyday groceries with their salaries, which will not be valued in a separation. Therefore, it is useful to examine the division of household expenses and to maintain a personal account in addition to the joint account. Within the couple, it's also important to ensure that each partner takes turns prioritizing their career over the others, whether it's one or the other when it comes to accepting a promotion requiring long days or a new position involving a move.
Finding and taking your place in the workplace. To find your place in the workplace while preserving your mental health as a woman, you can rely on existing resources and exercise your rights regarding permanent contracts, teleworking, flexible hours, and shared parental leave, where the father and mother alternately stop working to dedicate themselves to the children. It's also beneficial to set clear boundaries between professional and personal life. In companies, men are more comfortable negotiating their salaries because they learned early in their education not to question their worth. Women can also work on their sense of legitimacy. The France Travail website offers advice for women preparing to negotiate their salaries. You can also find advice in the media on negotiating a raise, specifically for women. Salary negotiation training is also available in group workshops or individually. When applying for a job, we can try to identify work environments that are favorable to women. Certain signs can be indicators. For example, the job title might be written using inclusive language, or the company website might mention gender equality among its values. You can also consult its Gender Equality Index on the Ministry of Labor's website. If you are a mother, you can look for organizations where finishing early isn't a problem, where presenteeism isn't a prerequisite for success, where teleworking is encouraged, and where requesting sick leave for a child isn't seen as a favor. To do this, connecting with a network of working women, see below, can help you learn about a company's atmosphere. Taking inspiration from other women who preserve their mental health. However, many women are sharing their experiences of preserving their mental health, particularly by refusing to conform to stereotypes. In New Zealand, Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern surprised the world by entering government while pregnant, taking maternity leave early in her term, and choosing to resign before its completion. She explained that she wanted to protect herself, whereas the usual political norms expect elected officials to demonstrate endurance. You give everything you have for as long as possible, and one day, it's time to stop. Journalist Lauren Bastide created the podcast Folie Douce, Sweet Madness, in 2024 to address mental health with the gentleness we owe ourselves. She invites prominent figures to the podcast, but also shares her own experiences. It goes along with the work I'm doing on myself, she told Vogue France, the magazine for which she writes literary columns. I'm trying to accept certain traumas, sufferings, and also a part of whimsy and inattention that are part of my personality, but that I've been masking in recent years.